What? Oh gosh, so neat. Yes. That was rude. That was good. There we go. Lights.
Action.
Russians. Fools rush in. Mother Russia, no thank you. Wait, what?
Oh my God.
Hey. Hi. It's like a 3-year-old does all the time. Daddy, what? Hi. Like the one time she was like, stand up, I need to show you something. I stand up, she jumps in my spot on the couch. She's like, I think I just got played. I just pick her up. It's like, you might be clever, but I'm stronger than you are. All right. So when last we discussed, we were talking about the 3 estates. What does that mean? I don't understand. What? Someone tell me so I'm not lost. Tell me somebody. Somebody's got to know. Yeah, what up?
Social classes that, yeah, they're social classes.
They are social classes. You're spot on. And can somebody tell me who's in the first estate? Back row, yes, ma'am.
Church of the clergy.
It's the Church of the Clergy. Fantastic. Who else is in the second estate? Let's keep this rolling. Yeah.
The nobles.
Yes. And the third estate?
Middle.
Yes. So basically everybody else, right? So what's the problem with that? Everybody's represented, right? Represent. What's the problem? Why doesn't it work?
Unfair.
Why? Why is it not fair? Tell me. Tell me.
They don't get taxed as much as other people.
They don't get taxed at all.
Yeah.
You're right, banging. So we got a problem. In addition, tell me about votes. What about votes? Yes.
Like, do you have, like, in, like, the lower class, like, they have, like, 2, like, groups in there, so, like, they can have different votes.
It's hard to get into get everybody on the same page because each estate only has
21.
not 21. 1 vote. 1. I don't know why you're thinking 21. I'm gonna go shopping later. Route 21, that's a store, isn't it?
Route 21? Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. Oh. Is it? All right, fantastic. I'm not that old and senile yet. Fabulous. All right, so moving on. So basically, the first and the second estate always vote together. Let's vote together. And the third estate is kind of left all in the cold because it's a, 2-to-1. So not fair, yes? So people are upset, but they're not rebelling. Not yet. What's going to cause the people to rebel? You can take away people's access to the government, they're kind of upset, whatever. What do you take away from it now so that them fighting words? Not the monarchy. It comes down to what we're all worried about all the time. Money! Specifically, access to life's necessities, which money provides. Food, shelter, clothing, all that stuff. The economy in France is tanking. Add into this fact that Louis is such a frugal man. He never spends any money. He saves every dollar he gets. Oh, wait, no, that's a lie. Reverse that. He spends everything like a crazy person. He and his successor, or folks behind him, the previous Louis, have set up this tradition of spending more money than the government actually has. So they're hugely in debt, and the economy tanks, and the people are starving. This is where revolutions happen. So Louis calls the 3 estates into a council where they're all going to debate everything. What's that called? They're all going to debate everything and try to pass laws. What's that called?
Congress,
Nope.
the press,
Nope. It's one of your vocab words.
National Assembly,
Nope.
states. Debate.
Stop. The Estates General, yes. The Estates General, where they're going to debate all this stuff. When they get there, they're trying to pass all these laws. And the third estate wants some pretty big changes based upon class tensions. Okay, fellas, we need some money for the government. How about we start taxing the nobility, all the people with money? How do you reckon the first and the second estate respond to that? How about no? So, what do they do instead? It's not going to work. When you get out of this, we decide, you know what? Here you are. I'm forming my own government. And they form the National Assembly. We have a new government being formed. Now, this is, by definition, a rebellion. But we're not fighting yet. There's no violence going on yet. This is just like, right, well, it's passive-aggressive is what it is. It's like, okay, great. Yeah, no. New government, and you're not invited.
Ouch.
Burn, right? So how does Louis respond? Well, here's the thing about Louis, guys. It's not necessarily that he is a bad guy. He's just a bad king. He's not a good ruler. One thing he's really bad at is leading, which is kind of a problem when you're the leader of a country. So how would Henry VIII have responded if these guys were like, yeah, we're going to write our own constitution, do you think? Hello, head, meet axe. Now, I'm going to divorce your body from your head. You kill them, all of them. This is just how he would respond to this. He's like, all right, fine, march the armies in. What does Louis do? He takes the building that they're going to meet in and locks the door. It's like some childish prank. Come on, let us in. Well, if you can't get in the building, obviously the rebellion will go away. What do you think actually happened?
They sat outside and did it.
They were very upset. No, they have to meet somewhere because it's cold, things like that. So you got to have a place so you can house, over 1,000 people. That's kind of a tall order, if you think about it. I want to put you guys in a building where I can have 1,000 of you in the same room. So list for me buildings in Louisville that can handle that now. Go. Boom, the Young Center. You guys immediately went to the sports stadium, yeah? Because they do it all the time. Guess what they did? They went to a sports stadium. Now, the thing is they didn't have the same sports. They weren't as popular. The big popular sport in France was tennis. Ooh, tennis. So they go to a tennis court. And when they get there, they're like, right, we're not going to let anything the government do stop us. We're forming our own government. We are going to form this new union. They're all excited. But here's something else that's cool that happens. The church meets them there and says, you know what, you got our support. The First Estate switches sides. And so they sign a pact called the Tennis Court Oath that is sort of the unofficial beginning of the revolution. What's considered the real starting point is the storming of the Bastille. Now, do you guys remember what the Bastille was? It was a prison. You might remember Voltaire, philosopher, had all these ideas, wrote books criticizing the government and its corruption, and he hid it as works of fiction so he wouldn't, be killed. Does that ring a bell at all?
Yeah.
Well, he ended up in there twice. It was so bad that when he was arrested the third time, he was like, just banish me. I'd rather just never come home than have to go back there again. So it's not a nice place. It's a fortress. It's got weapons and soldiers and all this stuff, and they're just ready to do whatever the king's will is. It's a place where the king's enemies disappear. It's political prisoners. It's not because they did anything wrong, it's just because the king disagrees with them, and so they go to prison forever. So what happens, a group of rebels, this mob, meets up front of the Bastille and starts ordering the commander to open the gates. Now here's the thing is, the commander's got this really nice palace, but he's only got like 16 dudes in there. Something like that. It's nowhere near the numbers of the mob. So he's kind of like, crap, what to do. If they decide to storm this place, there ain't no way I'm holding it. So he opens up the door and tries to talk them out of it. Well, they burst in and start trying to find guns. They start taking all the weapons, and suddenly now he realizes what a bad idea this is and tries to scare them off by shooting a few of them. That just pisses them off. And so they kill every single guard in the prison and then release all the prisoners, and then to add the whipped cream cherry topping on top of this delicious rebellious sundae, they disassemble the prison brick by brick and just make it vanish. The next morning, it's gone. It's just an empty lot. Consider what that would be like. You leave here tonight, you come back to prison next morning, and it's just a field. It's gone. Pretty sure I left the school here. You know, and the thing is, it was a symbol. The prison was a symbol of the monarchy and its power. You know, we can project power on you. There's nothing you can do about it. Well, think about what the symbolism is of disassembling the building. Who is it that actually builds government? The people. And if you abuse your power, guess what? We can disassemble it too. I mean, seriously, that's a feat. Think about it this way. How long does it take to build a building? How many weeks and months and sometimes years, and make it go away in one night? This is like some of the pranks you see sometimes in college campuses, where like, you know, you have the top of a bell tower and a police car shows up there. Seriously, that happened a few different times. Like at U of L, not specifically U of L, but they got that big bell tower. These guys would find like a cop car, they'd disassemble it as a joke and reassemble it up the top. So it's like, yeah.
So did anybody know that they did that? Like, did they tell anybody, or did they just do it? So everybody was like, how did that just do?
Well, yeah, there was plans, but you know, it was definitely like, we're going to protest. Oh wait, it got out of hand. Group mentality is a very strong thing. People are rational, groups are not. And what's weird is you can see how groups, when people are in groups, they stop thinking. They stop taking accountability for their actions. So like, for instance, you'll see really kind of sad things happen because people basically don't feel responsible for the actions of the group. Like, for instance, there's been plenty of examples of where somebody has been like dying in the middle of the street, and someone stops to help. It's like turning CPR. It's like, somebody call 911, somebody call 911. No one does. The person dies on the street, and like the police arrive like 3 hours later. Because nobody was, oh my God, this is just happening. You don't think about I'm involved. You know what I mean? Which is why if you ever see something like that happen, if you have a phone, call 911. But if you don't need someone to call 911, you say, hey, you, call 911. Because what have I just done? I singled her out. She's no longer able to be part of this group. She's now responsible for her actions. Okay? Breathe. Just breathe. Zen. So this is kind of how it goes down, guys. Group mentality is a scary thing. We're going to study it more whenever we get to the Holocaust, because one of the things I think was fascinating about Nazi Germany and the Holocaust is that it was rational people. You know, people like to think that the Nazis and everybody, they were crazy, they were psycho, they were, you know, these really deranged people. They weren't. They were like you and me and everybody else. It's actually very easy to get people to do incredibly horrible, nasty, cruel things to other people by rationalization. I mean, think about it. We used to own people in this country. That's pretty crazy when you are down to it. And I guarantee you, folks back then were no different than you are. It's just a different society. Society is all made up by us. We'll get to that later. Fascinating stuff. It's not moving. Oh, there it goes. Don't write that. Don't. Easy. This is a timeline. It's got things in chronological order. It's exciting. You'll notice that we have the French Revolution, date 1789, 1792, starting July 14, 1789, the storming of the Bastille. There's actually 4 main phases of the French Revolution. We are beginning phase 1, and that's where we're going to start with this next slide we get to, is the first phase of the French Revolution. Now, let me ask you guys a question real quick. Have you guys ever heard the song La Marseillaise?
Sure.
Or La Marseillaise, I think it's actually pronounced. My French is full of terrible. It's the French national anthem.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to play some for you because I want you to see what it's all about. Because the French Revolution is actually sort of the subject matter for the song. think it's how you spell it. I love how just random and weird a lot of these advertisements are. Here we go.
Ultra HD means more
Oh
than
my
having
gosh.
a billion pixels. It
Why are you forcing me to watch this? Ultra HD.
company.
Here you go. Oh. Good thing it's got a long intro. Anyway, you get the idea. If we have time. Make time. We'll make time for America. America. Anyways.
I know
It's funny how few Americans actually know their national anthem by word. The thing is it's not just Americans. Like, you ask people, like, what's your national anthem? Like, I have no idea. No, I asked one guy's like, what's the Canadian national anthem? He's like,
Bacon.
oh, he sends me stuff every now and again. It's like, it's like, no, seriously, this did happen. Like, there was the great maple syrup theft or heist where, like, something like $1 million worth of maple syrup was stolen. And it was in Canada. It's like, no, seriously? It's like, yeah. It's like, oh, that's... Yeah, they had 3 different shootings yesterday, actually. Yeah, true story, bro.
In Canada?
Yeah.
Wait, I have a question.
Ottawa.
What was the Hemi, or the Hemi, or the, it's not Hemi,
Remember the one?
no, the big one that exploded.
The Hindenburg.
Oh, Hindenburg.
Yeah,
Did you see that video?
yeah.
Because I'm gonna watch it again.
What's zany is like 2/3 of the people on that blimp, or that Zeppelin technically, survived.
Did you actually see it explode?
Yeah, it's like on fire. It's I actually have a poster somewhere of it going up.
Can you bring it in for that?
No. One, because I don't know where it is, and 2, it's got bad words on it.
What does it say?
You know, 'cause there's your problem right there. Yeah.
I'll literally stand at that moment last year.
Anywho, but this is a painting showing the tennis court of fantastic. That's the Bastille. This is what they were going for. Believe it or not, that's the assault rifle of the 18th century.
They have one of those things in the museum, didn't
They did, yes. Although technically that was the American version. This is a patterned Charlottesville musket. It might be a Fusey, but I think it's Charlottesville. And the Americans basically bought a bunch of them from the French government for the Revolution, And then when we started making our own muskets, we patterned them off of them at Springfield Armory. So, yeah.
Don't we still to this day own the French money?
Yeah, for muskets. It's hilarious. By the way, in case you're wondering, this is what one looks like when it's going off.
Can you
Yeah.
still buy those?
Yeah. About $800 for a musket. Yeah. Although weird thing is they're not actually considered firearms. They're considered it's like pyrotechnic devices or something.
So if you shot one of the burglars in your house with that thing, they wouldn't say you shot him with a weapon?
No, it's still a weapon. It's just not a gun.
So what
Yeah.
they say-
That being said, if you can shoot a burglar with a musket, you know, because the thing is that, yeah, hold on, let me, I mean, you know, there is something to be said about the sound of cocking, because it's, you know, it's this cracking sound. It's like, you hear that, it's like, oh. You know, that's why I say it's like, you know, pump action shotguns are the #1 most commonly used self-defense gun in the United States. Because whenever, like, if a burglar, you don't have to shoot them at all. You just kind of go, and it's like, peace, and they're gone. You know? It is not a musket, however. And so it's like,
Wait, how did the people in the hidden road live?
some of them jumped out, like 50 feet in the air.
And they
They lived! I was just like, look at I was like, there's this one guy who was like a Russian, like, circus performer. And he's just like, nope, and leaps out of the window as it's like, you know, no, actually, no, that's wrong. That guy actually rode it to the ground. He was like, I'm not jumping. And so he rode this thing and it explodes in a fireball. And he just walks out, he's got like one burning shoulder. Like, how? In what way is that physically possible? It's like, whoa. Jesus was your brother that day. Not from the top floor, because that's like hundreds of feet tall. I don't remember exactly how tall it was, but it was a much higher distance than everything. By that point, you're hitting critical mass. Or not critical mass, terminal velocity. Critical mass would be horrible. You just explode a nuclear explosion. Boom. Oops. Yeah.
When you jump that high, don't you pass out before you hit the ground, or are you still going?
Just,
But you can't pass out from shock.
you could, but
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
I'm a mom.
Yeah, crazy business that.
I'd rather pass out. Is it like black and white?
Yeah.
So it's like old.
I just watched it.
I don't think it's funny you said old. I'm like,
Were you born?
I have them.
well, good for you.
I watched them
Yeah, it's like I'm talking about this. Yeah, I watched him and Bird. I'm very
after.
productive today. Nice.
I looked at the musket too.
What? Oh my gosh, so productive, so much value. That's amazing. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Oh yeah, the French Revolution. That's what happened. Oh yeah, burning manor houses. That's exciting. So let's talk violence for a second.
Oh, yes, my
Ooh.
favorite.
So the first real violence that comes out of the French Revolution is actually from hungry people. If you think about it, farms have big silos which they keep grain in, yes? Why do they do that, by the way? Yes, but why do they want to? That's not a reason.
People won't steal it.
What's that?
People won't steal it.
Well, not even that per se. Let's talk supply and demand, shall we? If a farmer just grows as much as they can possibly grow and sells as much as they can sell, what happens to the price of whatever they're selling? It drops because there's less. It's there's more of it. It's not. It's the opposite of scarcity, you know. So what happens is you can actually lose money by selling too much. Because eventually there's a point where if there's so much supply and not enough demand, you lose the money. So the opposite is true. You can make sometimes more money by not selling everything you have and just sitting on it. The problem, though, is, of course, there's people starving. So you've got peasants who are having to pay the food they're growing on their lands to their, basically, feudal lords, and this is going to be kind of a problem because they need the food to eat. So basically, they're having to give food to a guy who all he's going to do is lock it up in a room. What sense does that make? So what happens is the people are hungry, they know about the silos, so they go and they start getting the food out of the silos, and they're so frustrated and angry about the whole situation, they, again, lose individual control, and they start burning these houses down, killing the nobles inside and things like that. So what we see happen is the violence starts because of hunger. Hunger is always going to be the motivator in the French Revolution. Now, interesting point here. If we wanted to, in the United States, could we produce enough food to feed everyone in the world? The answer is yes, absolutely we could. But we don't because of economics. That is an opinion. The thing is there's all kinds of ways we could look at resolving these issues. It's just getting them, So that's, I think, the encouraging thing is society can change, guys. Economics can change. We can make anything we want to work if we, as a society, agree upon it. So one day, we could end world hunger. We could end homelessness. We could end all the problems in the world. It's just a matter of doing it. That's pretty exciting. Yes, ma'am.
So you're saying that the United States can raise, like, make enough food to
Feed everyone in the world, yeah.
But what if it's like so much commitment? Like, so what if like in 3 years or 5 years they just stop?
Well,
Come to the United States and
they would stop feeding everyone. No, that wasn't so much. I didn't mean so much in the terms of the United States should take responsibility for making food for everyone in the world. My point was more that with technology, it's possible to feed everyone on this planet. With technology, it's possible to house everyone on this planet. Our technology is there, because people will say, like, oh, there's not enough land in the world to feed everyone. That's absolute crap. Yes, we can. We still have a significant portion of the United States, and we haven't even started farming yet, because why bother? But the economy doesn't really it doesn't incentivize doing that. That's the key. You have to incentivize anything. You got to make people want to do something, otherwise they don't. You know what I mean? So. But we can change incentives. So basically what I'm saying is as hopeless as the world seems sometimes, it can always change for the better. It's physically possible. It's not that the world won't allow good things to happen. It's that we have to let good things happen. That makes any sense. Yeah.
How come when we were trying to help Haiti after the earthquake, the government from Haiti would keep the money and not help the people?
Because corruption. That's the long and short of it. Greed. Long and short of it. Besides, sometimes they did, but they would just say, see, the government is helping you, not the United States. The government's doing it. They just repackage all the food and things, and say from the Haitian government, things like that. This happens everywhere we donate stuff. In fact, there's been some discussion about stopping all aid for that very reason. But then, of course, then we're not helping anyone. You know what I'm saying? This is the problem. There's always a problem. There's always an issue. You know what I mean? Again, we could fix all the world's problems. We just got to let ourselves do it. It's more complicated than I know. But, hey, moving on. But another thing we're going to see is there's going to be a lot of different groups competing for where the government's going to go, like who's going to be in charge, that sort of thing. The problem is that if you look at the more successful revolutions, usually you have one leader who's sort of like the linchpin. Everybody is under them and is following them, and they're the big person. Ours, of course, is George Washington. You know, for us, George Washington held the country together. How many guys knew that if he wanted to, he could have been king? You aware of that? They offered him, "You want to be king of America?" And he said, "No thanks." Yeah, King George, which is ironic. We just got rid of King George.
King of America, that sounds
Yeah, it's a weird thing. But he said no, because that's a complete violation of the principles we were fighting for. In fact, when they said, "Hey, you want to be president?" He said no. But basically he was bullied into it. And the thing is, these are 2 terms, and he was like, "I'm done. I'm going home." And they're like, "Oh, come on, we just want more." He's like, "No, I'm done." And so for years, the presidents were saying only 2 terms, only 2 terms. But technically it wasn't law until like the 20th century. When someone was like, yeah, I'm going to do 3 terms, I like to be president, they're like, screw you, I mean, no, I can be 3-term president. You're not better, you ain't better than George, don't you even play?
I thought they could do
We ain't got nothing to do.
I thought they could do 4.
2 terms.
How long is it?
Technically, 4 years. Technically, the longest you can be president is just shy of 12 years, hypothetically. Because you could be vice president when the president's assassinated.
There could have been a president my whole life.
What?
There could have been a president my whole life.
Hypothetically, that's possible. It's unlikely, but it's possible. I think the longest term president was like 10 or 11 years or something like that.
So Obama has like 4 more.
No, he's got till 20, he's got 2 more years. It's very interesting what he's done because this country's so polarized. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. Well, because the funny thing is, it's like, if I don't know if you guys have been following it, but I remember like with George W. Bush being in presidency, like people hated him, except for some groups of Republicans. But then whenever President Obama was in running the thing, like they felt like, well, because you hated George W. Bush, we gotta hate him. It was just this weird thing. It's like, I don't care who it is, if they're the opposite party, I hate them. You know, it's just kind of, really, dude? You can't like be in the middle anywhere? What's that?
I thought it was all about the guns of why we hate them.
No, he actually did more to, which a lot of people say that President Obama wants to take away guns. He's actually made the weakest gun laws of any president in the past 12 years.
Can we like
President-
make Obama go, like, is there a way to make him go away?
Besides, the ironic thing is he actually has a much higher approval rate than George W. Bush did. Because a lot of people think he's a good president. Yeah, there's a lot of people who do. That's what's wrong. But people who don't think that everyone else doesn't like him. That's what I'm saying.
I never heard of anybody like him.
I can name quite a few people I know. But again, I'm a centrist, so you know I think it's very interesting seeing people. Centrist means I don't vote by one party that I find who I think is the best for each particular job. So I vote for both.
That's
basically.
how.
The thing is, most people say that they don't think that. Again, because they become polarized, you see. They focus on some issues. Like, you know, my grandparents are a great example of that because they're actually incredibly liberal, except for one subject. They're pro-life and they're only pro-life. And so they will never go for anybody who is pro-choice, even if they agree on everything else with them, just because of that one issue. So it's kind of interesting because it's like, you know, these other people actually believe more than stuff you believe, but it doesn't matter to them because of one issue. So again, that's kind of the effects of how polarization, where you have some people who focus only on one aspect, if that makes any sense. They go to sides.
I think they need to make for voting, like, because a lot of people probably voted for him, but then after he really started running, they started really seeing his ideas, they might have changed. Like, at first I was like, you should vote for my mom, and now I'm like, you shouldn't. So, like, I think they should do something where, like, if after a while you're not feeling balanced.
Not satisfied?
Yeah.
Well, they do that. It's called the next 4 years. Whenever they go for election again, you can say, we're not going for it. But that didn't happen. So that's the thing you have to understand is that he did have the first 4 years, and he got voted in again because the majority of Americans thought he was the better choice. That was in 2010. This is his second term.
That was in 2010.
2010. Dirt. Thanks for getting my back there. But yeah, that's the thing. And the thing that I also find very amusing is people who say, like, you know, well, these senators, they just don't have our interests at heart. It's like, who voted for them? We did. So if you don't like it, don't vote for them again. But they do it anyways. It's fascinating. No, here's the thing is, just, when you guys are old enough to vote, it's not that hard to find out what people are voting for. This is the honest fact. This is the point of democracy, is to be aware. If you believe that, fantastic. Vote that way. Become part of the political process. Get out there and not really protest, but, you know, campaign. work with the campaign, things like that. That's participating. You guys know how few people actually participate, right? That's the ironic thing is, less than 50% of Americans who can vote voted in the last election. So it might very well be that a majority of Americans don't like the president and wouldn't have voted for him, but they didn't. They didn't vote. So their vote doesn't matter. The only way your vote's going to matter is if you vote. So get out there and vote whenever you can. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I was gonna ask this a while ago. Obama, I asked my therapist about him. We had a small thing about it, but he, what was on the news is that he canceled an Ebola meeting, the first Ebola meeting to continue golfing, because he was out of town. Is he even allowed to do that? Like, Ebola's big, and he's worried more about golf.
Ebola's not big.
It's not big in the United States.
Let's put it this way. You know what you're more likely to be killed by than Ebola?
Flu.
Choking on a peanut.
What?
You're far more likely to choke. You know how many people it's killed in the United States?
2.
You are as likely to be killed by, actually you're more likely to be killed by a tree falling on you than you are to be killed by Ebola. So it's not that big a deal. That's no.
Like, could he just visit her?
Why? Like,
They just got rid
again, you just said, okay, it's not a big deal, but he should do it anyways. Why? If it's not a big deal, why worry about it? Besides, technically, it's not his job to do it. That's another thing about the president, guys. You know what the president does in this country, right? Basically, their job is to, well, actually do a few different things, but sort of act as the figurehead, so to speak. They have certain jobs, but one of the big ones that's not their job is making laws. President can't make laws. That's Congress. Technically, yes. He does have to sign it into law, and that's where he has check and balance over the Congress, but they can overrule him if they want to. They just have to have 3/4 majority, which is very hard to do. To act as an executive branch. Now, there are other jobs. For instance, technically they're head of the military, but it's not really what it means. Like, they don't lead troops into battle. It's more like they're supposed to organize plans, if that makes any sense. Their job is to basically act as an overseer to Congress. Congress has, technically it doesn't have more power, but from a certain point of view they do. Because of checks and balances, they're all technically equal, but Congress is the ones who makes all the laws, and makes all the different things like that. But again, guys, what I'm trying to get to is the principal beauty of democracy is this. You don't like somebody, you don't vote for them. But if they get in, that means more people like them than what you like. So just consider that. And you can't just be mad about it. If you want to change it, go change people's minds. It is possible. It's hard, but you can do it.
People just like vote for the same guy over and over again because everyone else likes.
Yeah, well, actually, there's been suggestion to remove, every ballot has a little box that says all Democrat, and another box that says all Republican, and you just check mark and just automatically vote for every candidate with that. They said take that off, make people individually vote, so that they don't just go by party line, because that's actually caused the polarization I'm talking about. So, government's fascinating, guys. Let me get right down to it. Most things in life that are worth it are irritating, to be honest. 3-year-old, irritating as can be. Totally worth it, though. Yes, ma'am. Daw! So cute. Anyways, seriously though, if like government and everything like that, you're passionate about it, take government econ when you guys get the chance. Because you will learn a lot about how it functions, like what its jobs are and things like that. And that's incredibly important. When you think about it, we are the guys with all the power. Consider this. I'll give you an allegory. You guys ever play cards? Like poker, things like that? Okay. What's the highest card in the deck of poker cards?
Ace.
Why?
Not
Do you guys know what ace really means?
No.
1. Ever wonder why the numbers start at 2? It's because they don't. It starts at ace. It's 1. 1 through 10, jack, queen, king, ace, or jack, queen, king. For much of history, this is how you played cards. The ace was the lowest card in the deck. But after the revolution, really the American Revolution, but also the French Revolution, they swapped places. The lowest common denominator, the common citizen, if you will, was placed above the king, because the king exists to serve the people. That's why we do that. That's why there was English rules and American rules. And English rules, the king was always highest. American rules, once went up. Joker was added later to act as a wild card, basically.
I don't think anybody uses it.
It depends, but professionally they don't. No, it's not. But it's an option. It's also used in some other games. One of these days, I'm actually going to have you guys play some period card games from this era, things like that, things like Whist, and one of the ones that's fun is 1 to 30. There's another one that's called Pharaoh that was very popular. And basically, you guys ever been to like a church picnic? I'm sure you have. Some. You know the cake booths where they got like a big wheel? That's basically Pharaoh with cards. It's really quick and nitty gritty. What's weird is you can actually bet on the numbers to lose. But I have no idea. But that game's been around for a long time. All right, I'm gonna stop this recording because this has been recording all this nonsense.